Sounds and effects. We need to add some sounds to the game, followed by some shooting effects. Right click on sound and press create sound to add a new file. I'll use 4 sounds, one when the character shoots, one when the enemy shoot, one when enemy dies, and one as background. Let's first set the background music. We can use the character's create event as it happens in the start of the game and only once. Use the function audio play sound. The function needs the name of the sound, the level of priority, and whether to play in a loop or not. Priority is something GameMaker uses if there are a lot of sound files running at the same time. As we're only using a few here, it doesn't matter. If we continue to global left pressed, we want to play a sound here as well, as this is where the shooting happens. We use the same function but set loop to false, as the sound should only play once. In the enemy's alarm 0, we can play the sound of the enemy's gunshot. In the bullet's collision with enemies, when they don't have any hit points left, we use the sound of an enemy dying. Run the game and make sure the sounds work. There are 2 ways to make cool effects. One is quick and easy and another a bit more complicated. Let's start with the easy one. I want to have the bullet create small smoke clouds when hitting a wall. Go to a bullet's collision with the wall. Use the function effect create above. In the first input, you write what type of effect you'd like. GameMaker has a list of effects we can use. Let's go with the smoke effect, EF_smoke. The 2 next are the X and Y coordinate of the effects. For X we write X plus H speed. H speed stands for horizontal speed, the speed in the X axis. Likewise for Y we write Y plus V speed, with V speed being vertical speed. Next is the size of the effect. 0 for small, 1 for medium and 2 for large. Let's go with medium. At last is the color of the effect. As smoke is usually whitish, we use C_white. That's how easy it is to make simple effects. If we want to try the complicated way, we're going to write a lot more code. First, we need to create a particle system that has a particle type, which must be shown on the screen by an emitter. Let's try to make some splashy blood when the enemy is shot. First, we need to create a particle system. We can use our character's create event and the function part_system_create. Assign it to a variable we call something like effects. If we look at our room's instance layer, it has a depth of 100. As the blood must be behind our enemies, the particle system must have a higher depth number. Let's set the depth of the particle system to 150 with part system depth. We now need to create the actual effect. Write part type create and also assign this to a variable, for example EF_blood. We can now begin to configure the particle type. Start by setting a form with part type shape to an explosion. Then set the size with part type size. In here we can try a random size between 0.1 and 0.5 and have it not change over time. It looks more real with some randomized values. With the function part type color free, we can make it start as red until halfway through, then gradually change it to white. Likewise, we can modify the opacity with part type alpha free to start out fully visible and fade out at last. 1 means fully visible and 0 means invisible. This transition between 1 and 0 makes up a fade out effect. Let's have the speed of the blood be a random number between 1 to 10, but reduce it by -0.4 every frame. Then it looks like it falls on the floor. The direction must be all random, between 0 and 360 degrees. With part type live, we can decide how long the blood lasts. If we want 10 seconds, it would mean 30 frames multiplied by 10, which is 300. At last, we need an emitter in our bullet's collision with the enemy. This is what actually shows the particle. When creating an emitter with part emitter create, you must also tell what particle system it belongs to. This was the one we created in our character and called effects. You must tell the emitter what area the particle should spawn in. Let's keep it simple and say the blood should always be created in the enemy's X and Y. In this function we must set the particle system, the emitter, starting position, end position, the form and distribution. For now it is not so important to know the exact details, so let's skip it. The last function, part emitter burst, shows the actual particle on the screen. First input is the particle system, next is the emitter, third is the particle type, and last the amount of particles. Let's go with 5. I know there are a lot of stuff to take in, but now that we have set it all up, it is much easier to play around with. Our game is now starting to look like something. It is up to you to make more changes and try to have the effects look more realistic than I can.